So with two fine candidates that have shown up for position 7, to my right is Dory Luso Gilmore, and to my left, Michael Alvarez. So we're going to give opening statements. Ms. Luso, you're up.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight and persevering through all the speeches. Perseverance, dedication, accountability, that's what I like to think that I could provide and do provide for City Council. I'm the 13th child to go to Richland High in my family. Go Bombers. After college, I went into broadcasting. I was a teacher at Vocational Skill Center, and I was part of the first graduating class of WSU Tri-Cities for the Enology Viticulture program. Persistence and community service. Since grade school, I've been a volunteer in my community, including here in the city of Richland, 2 terms on the Arts Commission. Very proud of the muraling we did down at the Uptown, and also of the trash can art, which you can see here in John Dam Plaza. Persistence, accountability. Tonight, before I came to this great event, I was at my library board meeting. It's one of the 6 services that I do for the City Council, including Planning Commission and also Parks. Persistence and commitment. Every comp plan meeting, every Rachel Road meeting, I was there. I hiked with the stakeholders. I saw what the community was looking for, and I'm accountable for that. And persistence with honesty. I can be emailed, I can be called, and I do respond. And I want you to know as a citizen that I'm available for that. Persistence, dedication, accountability. I'm Dory. Vote for me for City Council.
Thank you very much. Mr. Alvarez.
Hi, my name is Michael Alvarez, and I want to thank everybody for attending this. I know it's been kind of long. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. Hoorah! I'm a commissioner for the Richland Parks and Recreation Commission. I have a degree in human resource management from New Mexico State University. I've attended Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University with an emphasis in finance. I have 25 years experience in the finance industry. I have 23 years as a local business owner, married for 28 years with 2 children, both born in Richland, both graduated from Richland High School, both are currently attending WSU. One is coming in as a sophomore and one is a senior, and lived here for 25 years. My goal is I want to raise the bar of the qualifications and experience of our local elected officials. I believe in the analogy of good, better, and best. I want Richland City Council members to take our city from soaring at 5,000 feet to soaring above the mountaintops. I'll use my experience and skills to improve the quality of life for our senior citizens, youth, families, my fellow veterans, and everybody that calls Richland home. I'll support our police and firefighters, as I was past law enforcement myself, and make sure they have the proper tools so that we can provide our exceptional public safety. I'll work hard to keep Richland taxes low and fees low, and I will foster strong relationships with a vibrant business community. And finally, and most importantly, I'll be a strong advocate for listening to the needs, concerns, and issues of Richland residents. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mr. Alvarez. We'll move on to question 1. Dory, we'll start with you. We thought being outside for this forum was a great idea, and fortunately the temperatures turned out to be pretty good, so it wasn't a bad idea. But nonetheless, one can always pay to hold a meeting at a private facility. But the free and affordable options, such as the Richland Library, like you talked about, it was already booked. So we tried to schedule this forum there. We tried to also schedule one at the community center, but again, solidly booked, just a difficult thing. So here's a question for you both. Do you have any suggestions for what the city could do to provide the public with more options for holding meetings and indoor events for free or at least an affordable fee?
I really do. I think the library obviously is an amazing thing that we have. In the city of Richland, you know that we have our own library, and that comes from us being a government town. The community center, also a beautiful facility. I spent a lot of time down there. When the new city hall goes in, just north of here, we will have some available land that's city-owned right down there. And I could envision us putting in another facility there. I could envision us putting in something like a market or an open-air palisade sort of place where we could have vendors come, food trucks, that sort of thing. Of course, those things cost money, And as we've heard tonight, a lot of people like things, but it's hard to get more taxes. So of course, affordability is one of the things we got to think about here on council. So we got to be accountable for the money we spend, even though we want to provide the services to the community. So it's always a balancing game.
All right, thanks so much, Mr. Alvarez.
You know, being a commissioner on Parks and Recs, I asked the question. I actually went to the city manager. I wanted to find out because I had someone come and say, hey, why are the Boy Scouts being charged XYZ amount of dollars for using John Dan Plaza? And so I asked, I said, why is that? Why do we have nonprofits that want to go ahead? They're local nonprofits, Richland nonprofits. They're coming to here and they want to use the facilities to make money for their organization. And so the answer I got, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, was right now the Parks and Recs is this is a test trial for like John Dan Plaza and some of these places. What are the right fees and what are the right costs for those type of things? So we can actually adjust those. And I think if we go ahead and look at our options a little bit more and make those a little bit more available to everybody, I think we can go ahead and do some of those things. But like I said, right now, I know we're tight on those facilities. We're also tight on sports facilities where our youth play sports and stuff like that. So I don't have the issue. I don't really know the answer to that. Like I said, I talked to the city manager. I talked to Parks and Recs on that. And I think the big thing on there is we just have to go ahead and push for those issues a little bit more and get those type of answers. And I wish I had a little bit more on that. But I think it's a good question, and I'll find out the answer. And I will get back. I'll actually post it on my Facebook. I'll put it on my website for sure. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Alvarez, thanks so much. We'll move on to question 2. Mr. Alvarez, we'll start with you on this. What do you consider the biggest challenge the city of Richland faces today? And if elected, how are you going to address the challenges?
Good question. So I have 25 years experience in the finance industry, and I think the number one challenge we face is a balanced budget, keeping that balanced budget. I think we had someone that said, we're pretty trim on that. And we got to maintain a balanced budget and not exceed our expenses on that. With doing that, if we do that, it affects our public services. It affects police, fire, safe roads, safe water drinking. It affects our parks. It affects our libraries. So I think the biggest issue I see is just maintaining a balanced budget and keeping with our means and not going into debt long term. I would go ahead and work with city council members, city manager, and everybody that's on the finance staff to go ahead and talk about those things, because I've gone to city council meetings and I've seen the type of questions that need to be asked of city staff when they're coming in and talking about budgets. And I know how to read the balance sheets. I know how to read profit and loss statements. I can go ahead and ask the hard questions city staff to say, hey, I understand this, but what can we do better to go ahead and fix that option a little bit more? So with that finance and experience, I don't think anyone on city council has as much experience on that. I think that would be a tool to bring in there, and I would use my experiences to talk to the city manager, just talk to city council, and let's get the feedback, and let's move forward and make sure we have a balanced budget for all our exceptional. I think Richland has exceptional public safety, and I want to make sure we still have that. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Dory.
So you know what everybody loves about Richland, right? We have 58 parks. We have an exceedingly good police department. Community policing is what they do. And I believe safe streets and pedestrian and bicycle safety is our important things to do here. We want a walkable city. We want a clean and safe city. And we want to look out for the smallest residents. I am the mom of 3 young kids. And I know myself, walking these streets sometimes, it is a little scary. And so if we can improve our crossings down here in the heart of Richland, if we could look forward to improving transportation here on G Way, as you all know, it's a very, very busy freeway, and we want to slow that down a little bit. And I think if we could make our downtown heart of Richland a safer and more walkable community, linking the parks, it would just be better for everyone.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to question 3. Ms. Lusso, we'll start with you. What does the term economic development mean to you, and how important is economic development to the city of Richland's future?
Economic development is, of course, a vital part of what we need to do to grow as a city. You know, many of our jobs, 5,000 employees at PNNL. Cadillac's our second largest employer. We have a lot of high-paying, well-educated people working here in the city, but we need to look out for the workers coming up. You know, we have an aging workforce. The baby boomers are nearing retirement or retired. We need to look for job training programs. We need to look to grow our own in the city. We need to make sure that we're training qualified, skilled staff and encouraging businesses to come here. We just recently had a DOE land transfer out at the area where it came to the city of Richland. We have large land tracts out there. So economic development has been looking at businesses to bring in to grow and have industry out there. I could see us becoming a hub of Eastern Washington and the recycling. We don't have current recycling here, and I think that would be important to do as our landfill is nearing its end. It's filling up. So economic development in many avenues, and I believe our team here does well. And we have the Port of Richland that we're looking to put new railroad spurs in Richland, so that increases economic development as well.
Thank you, Mr. Alvarez.
You know, economic development means a lot to me. I know that we have 1,300 acres of prime industrial property. And if we vie to go ahead, and it's going to be competing with other cities, if we can go ahead and get some of those right type of industries or type of corporations to come in there and use that, and they use our skilled labor, we have an excellent skilled labor workforce. So I think that's one thing that we could go ahead and look at doing, is trying to recruit big corporations that coming into our 1,300 acres and using that, and that'll help foresee as the Hanford cleanup finishes up. Also, we have to go ahead, we're a landlocked city. And we definitely are a landlocked city, and I think what we have to do is really look and be smart about our economic development. I mean, I know that when we're looking at residential developments and commercial developments and stuff, and through city council, there's a lot of terms being thrown out there like low density, high density, medium density residential. Well, what does that mean? Those are the size of lots. And the smaller the lot, the more homes, are those going to be affordable? I don't hear those questions being asked necessarily. So we need to make sure that when we're doing all this, that we have affordable housing, that we make sure we do it right the first time, because we're a landlocked city. And I want to make sure that our economic development, when we start going forward on commercial residential, do we have the number of parks to go ahead and suffice that? And we won't have a second chance. We're not going to have a second chance. So we got to really be smart about our economic development going forward, because we can't plot down. We got it one shot to get it done. It's a landlocked city.
All right, thanks so much. Question 4 will come from the audience. And there was a lot of good ones, so we apologize if we didn't get to yours. What would you, and Mr. Alvarez, we'll start with you, what would you do about urban sprawl and the lack of what some see as infrastructure that's just not equipped, you know, for all the traffic, the new development like you talked about?
You know, I know one thing, where, as far as the Dupertail Bridge project, I know 60% of that, or $12 of that, goes toward the pavement preservation. So some of that funding actually goes for improving the roads and for our continued growth. As far as urban sprawling, like I said before, we're a landlocked city. We got to make sure that we go ahead and plan our residential developments correctly, along with our commercial developments. We don't have a second chance to get that done right. So I think smart planning on that side. I do think, you know, I've heard this stuff, we got to go green. I'm all for green, and I also heard we got to go up. Well, in the city, in Seattle, they're limited on some of the property. They're building up and going green. I don't see that necessarily where we have the property to go ahead and do those type of things here. We're going to go ahead and still develop. I want to see us develop. I want us to see us grow as a community and as a tax base. That's how we get some of our tax base to go ahead and provide some of our public services. So that I do think we got to go ahead and look at our commercial, bring people in, do those type of things, look at our residential, make sure our lots are. But also, as a Parks and Recs Commissioner, I like our open space. I want to protect it. We have to have good balance between what we do on a residential and commercial development, and also keep some of our natural open spaces the way they are for future generations, so we can all enjoy those type of things. Because I'm very pro parks, I'm pro the art, I'm pro those type of things as well. So if we can do this right, we'll make Richland a really good place to live, and we'll still keep it safe.
Thank you. Ms. Lusso.
Could you repeat the question?
Sure thing. What would you do about urban sprawl and what some consider the lack of infrastructure for our growing town, lots of traffic, and those sorts of issues?
Well, as the city grows, you know, we get more citizens, we're going to have more traffic. It's the culture of the way we are in the United States. Everybody drives their own car. And I do believe we need to look at making sure that our downtown is not neglected. As was stated earlier this evening, we do have many open storefronts, empty and vacant office buildings in our downtown. And we are building out, you know, the Queensgate area, I believe, is almost full. And our housing, our urban growth area is out towards South Richland. So we do need to concentrate, make sure that we're not forgetting the neglected areas. I grew up in central Richland. I live in North Richland now, and we do have a lot of areas of concern, especially with absentee landlords. We could use some improvements, and that's one of the hardest things. We want to have a stable housing market. Right now, I believe Richland or the Tri-Cities is one of the hottest housing markets. It's really hard to have an affordable house for middle income earners. I would definitely put our single income household in that category. And I would think that we could do something to make sure that our lowest income earners still have a nice and safe place to live. I'm not opposed to more apartments, and I don't think that we need to worry about crime rates increasing with that. I think that's an urban legend, and I think we need to work on making sure that traffic and safety is always important for all citizens.
All right, let's thank both of our candidates for position 7. Dory Lusso-Gilmore and Michael Alvarez. Great job, guys. Well, that's going to conclude it for this edition. So I want to thank the league. I want to thank Mike Charbonneau.